Joining me today on Dom Pod, my special guests, Alex Webster and Tom Walstab. We have the President and Vice President of Group S Racing Association in Australia. This is truly an episode I've been looking forward to for such a long time. I've been racing cars with these two fine gentlemen for 10 years, and they've been racing for a lot longer than me. They're going to bring a lot of experience, knowledge, and insight into historic racing in Australia, particularly in the Victorian chapter. It truly is going to be an episode of the intersect of all the things that I love: machines, media, and the mind. Welcome today, Alex and Tom. How are you both?
Hello, Dom. Wow, what an intro. And when you talk about president, which at the moment I'm lucky enough to be, Alex was the previous president, but really it's an interchangeable position because it's a two-headed beast. It's a nameplate only, which is velcroed on the door, and we swap it between the two of us very, very quickly, very quickly.
Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Dom. Thanks so much for having us. I think it's exciting. I think that, as Tom said, we've had that opportunity to sort of run Group S for the best part of 10 years, and I think that's been an enjoyable thing because I think, like anything, you want to turn up to a meet or be part of a category that you feel is something that you want to be a part of. And I think that's what we've tried to do, is bring a little bit of, I'll call it, generational shift to Group S, and have brought along the members on that ride. And for that, I think it's better off, and we're in a great place to sort of springboard into the next sort of 5 to 10 years going forward. So,
and I think we're lucky with the, I guess, the people who founded Group S. They probably had a lot more car club experience, and they really set a fantastic racing foundation. And I think Alex and I probably come in with a commercial and marketing sort of background, and obviously a love and passion for cars.
Yeah.
But I guess we came in on a different level, and I think it's been a good transition for the club, and probably where it needed to go. Because you want to make sure that you're attractive to bringing new people in. Otherwise, really, it becomes a bit stagnant. And you've got to make a club that you want to be part of.
That's such a good point. And for the benefit of the audiences watching and listening, perhaps we should define what Group S is, what it means, what the years encompass in terms of the race cars. And so perhaps you can shed some light on what it is and why it exists and how it fits into the scheme of historic racing.
You nailed it there where you said, what does Group S mean? And it's one of the things when you see motorsport and there's all different categories, and you see M and O and it all
the alphabet.
It all kind of means nothing. Group S is probably lucky in that it does stand for sports, in a sense. But one of the first things we did is we kind of renamed ourselves Classic Sports Car Racing, because then you don't need to go on to part 2 of, you're racing Group S. What's Group S? It took away the 2-part question. But I guess to answer that, it's really cars from the 50s, 60s and 70s, and they're production sports cars, and we, I guess, are racing them in a mildly modified form, as close to stock as you'll sort of get, I think.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I think you've got certain tolerances that you're allowed within the regulations. There's a huge variety of cars. I think that's the amazing part of Group S, is that I think if you go on the Motorsport Australia website, there's like 100 or so different specification sheets. So it doesn't matter what brand you're affiliated with or have a passion for. Chances are you've actually got a vehicle you could turn from a road car, in essence, put a roll cage in it, put a race seat in it, put some race belts in there, a fire extinguisher and a Dorian, and away you go, kind of thing. So, it actually should, and that's the way it kind of should be. And the way that the category started is that you could take your weekend car that you might be doing a few club events in and do a couple of those little modifications, and away you go. And hopefully they're reversible too at the end of the day, that, once you've had your fun racing for whatever time frame that is, and you could then revert that back to a road car. And actually we've seen that on multiple occasions with certain cars that have been race cars. I had one of them actually that I turned into a race car, and now it's back to a road car, and it's got plates back on it, and it's a road car again.
I love that. Yeah. Declawing, detuning them.
Absolutely. And I did exactly the same with mine. I had a little short wheelbase 911, and it was the cheapest Porsche I could buy when I wanted to get into Porsches, and then through the magic of car evolution, all of a sudden it was an expensive car, and I think, oh wow, you're throwing that expensive car around the track. I said, not when I first got it.
Don't talk about it.
Don't think
about it.
And that's a good point. I mean, you brought up Porsche. You both raced Porsches, beautiful cars, such an exciting category to watch for the very reason that you pointed out, Alex. We can go through the alphabet and pull out all the different marques that are competing against each other. And from a spectator's point of view, when you see Alfa Romeos against Porsches, against MGs, I mean, let's start naming some. What else? We've got Shelby Mustangs.
Yeah, we're sort of almost like a car show, 100-mile-an-hour car show.
Yes.
Like Corvettes, De Tomasos. There's Ferraris. Down to the little sprites and the bug eyes like that, and you can come in at any level.
Yep.
That's the
Triumphs,
beauty of it.
Datsuns, even sort of more oddballs you want to call sort of Lancias. And also then even Genettas. There's a beautiful Genetta that runs in Group S, and so I think our record at Lotus, I think the record we had was 12 manufacturers on the grid at one point in time, which was, when you talk about diversity, that's the epitome of it. And that's the other beauty, I think, of Group S, is you've got 7-litre Corvettes racing with 1275 or even less bug-eyed, 990cc bug-eyes, all on the same grid, and they've all got their own strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And that creates great racing. If we only look back to the event a few weeks ago at Winton that we had, I was rewatching the video last night, and there was 6 cars. Now, admittedly, there was 3 911s and there was a Shelby and 2 Corvettes.
Wow.
But at the end of the 8 laps or something, there was 5 seconds between first and sixth. So there was nothing between it. You could throw a blanket over those 6 cars, and they're all, I think there was 4 or 5 lead changes, and so it was brilliant to watch. I was basically the camera car because I was sitting at the back of them and couldn't get past. But it was great to watch from where I was, and it was on TV and it had great spectators. But that's what you want, and then that's at the front. But then you've got exactly the same thing happening right throughout the field, where so long as you've got someone to play with, as I call it, then you're having fun. So you're having a race within a race, and that's what there is in Group S. There's lots of races within races. So as Tom said, you've got the 50s, 60s and 70s, but within that you've got then different categories, different classes based on capacity. So there's always someone to race with, and at the end of the day, there's an award at the end of the year for people that have been consistent. Great, it's a $10, $15, $20 trophy.
Yeah, we're not racing for sheep stations, but we all kind of are.
Oh,
you know how hard we go.
As we say, if someone wants to donate some sheep stations, we'll race for them. But until that point in time, there's not.
Yeah, and I dare anyone to stand between a racer and his $10 trophy.
Seriously. Exactly. And I mean, that's a good point to get into is, look, everyone always says to me before I go out onto a race meet, which I'm so grateful to be getting back into it again, hopefully this year, rebuilding one of the race cars and getting it ready. So we know what it's like. We're not racing until the flag drops and we're going. People say, oh, when are you racing again? Well, literally when my foot's down on the gas. Up until that point, I'm not racing. I think it's a really good point, and I'd love to have your opinion on this. It is fun, but it's also really, really intense. When I've had a friend come out to watch, or just an interested person who I've invited, slip a little ticket to, they always say the same thing. Holy moly, you guys, I mean, this is fast. This is intense. You guys take it really seriously. And I have to say, well, yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it. Main one is the safety. We really take it quite seriously because we are going at huge speeds. I think we're probably pushing these cars faster than they did back in the time that they were out there racing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so all those elements, I'd love to hear your feedback on the intensity of the sport, as kind of fun as it is, as a hobby as it is. I think we all take it really seriously. We love it so much. Things can go wrong, as they do, and you've got to take that all into mind, and race etiquette and being safe, and there's so many factors to it.
Well, I guess one of the great things about Group S, and we've touched on, is all the different cars. And it changes the dynamic of the racing, because if you're all racing in, I guess, the same cars, or, for example, Formula V or Formula Ford, or even Porsche Cup, we're all in the same car. It comes down really just to the driver, the minute bits of setup, and it becomes a bit crash and bash, because you're all in cars that are exactly the same. So you've got to find that tiny little bit of edge. We've got cars that have completely different characteristics, as we touched on before. You can have a 7-litre Corvette, absolutely, like a,
bounce you down the straight. Like
just gone,
just
disappear. And
Cannonball.
And then you get to the twisty bits of the track, and you're back on them again, and then they go off again. It's like a bungee. But you've got different places. I guess one of the things about our racing is that there's a lot of passing, because you've got cars with massive difference in capability, whether it's the braking,
Capacities.
the handling, and capacities. So we've actually got. I guess it's probably a unique sort of form of motorsport, where you've got so many different cars in together, all with different capabilities. So we get really exciting racing.
True.
In that sense, and it's touch free. If you have car to car contact, you're up to the principal's office. You've got to see the stewards. Well, and you can be sent home. And these are beautiful cars. We're amateurs, and you've got to remember, as we say, it's, sheep stations and the red mist and everything happens like that. But take a deep breath. Remember, can't hit, give each other room. One of the things I guess we probably really pushed was to make sure that all of our group were together. So we have a Group S paddock, and everyone who's racing is in the paddock. And when I first started racing Group S, everyone was scattered around like Brown's cows, because Bert has this mechanic and he knows him and he knows him. We just said, hang on, why aren't we all together? So now we're all together. It's very different in the paddock, when you can be racing quite fiercely, and then you get out and you've got to sort of eyeball someone. It's a bit like getting stuck at the traffic lights, next to someone who you haven't cut off, and it's a bit like, oh, it's embarrassing. So I think it actually makes everyone be a little bit more thoughtful about how they want to approach their racing, and make sure that they that they're getting along as well, which is great.
And I think if you look back and go back to your question of the intensity, I think everyone, you just mentioned it, we do this 4, maybe 5 times a year. It feels a lot more if you ask our partners, ask our wives. It's like, it's every weekend you're doing something. It's actually, no, it's 5 times a year or 4 times a year or sometimes 3 times a year, but it feels like a lot more, because there's preparation and there's the things that you're doing in the lead up to, which then, prolong the experience. But I think the excitement too with that build up, yes, there's an intensity, but again, I go back to just even the event a few weeks ago. We had the top 5 guys that we were running at the front. We all jumped out of our cars at the end, had throw each other a high five, and and actually took a selfie together and said, "Here's the top 5. How much fun was that?"
Yeah.
And I think that's the great part about it, is that you sort of, you give each other a fist pump. You say, "That was awesome. That was fun. We race within inches of each other. We haven't touched." And that's the way it should be. And you can walk away and feel confident, and that comes with a bit of time too, that you get comfortable running with guys that are in big cars, small cars, and the likes of, say, Damien and Simon Meyer, who run these little sprites, both Australian karting champions and absolute guns behind the wheel. And we can race within inches of each other, and we know that we're going to give each other some room. So
or just give it away.
Oh, give it away and say, do you know what? That's your corner, because at the end of the day, and this is where I think you learn a little bit more over time, especially for guys in bigger horsepower cars.
Yeah.
They'll almost let the Sprite go through in the corner, because in the straight, they're just going to completely go and blast past
I've been so used to it, all over my rear view. That's Rusty.
And then,
that's Joe. Let him go.
And then it happens all over again. And, as you said, you call it a lacquer band, call it a bungee, whatever. It's like you've got this elastic band between cars, and it makes for great footage. I threw my camera on my bumper bar over the last couple of races, and you get a real feeling of how close you're getting. And when you've got a front camera that's basically got a screen full of Shelby or a screen full of Porsche or Corvette, and you go, wow, and you can hear it and all this kind of, it actually makes it more visceral. And you go, I think that kind of translates a little bit better than having it just sort of stuck inside and you're watching someone steer. You go, oh, that actually creates a bit more emotion. So that's cool.
I love that. You actually become very well versed in other marks as well, because you learn to study the capabilities of other marks, their strengths and weaknesses, where they're likely going to break. You get to know the driver, get to know their style. Everyone's got a different style. Like, oh, I love this person, but I know that they're loose around a corner, so I'm just going to back off a bit. We have a laugh. And it's something that Tom and I touched on just prior to pressing on air roll, let's go, was the beautiful comradeship that we do forge in historic racing. I consider you guys like brothers, uncles. I've known you for so long now, and I've got so many mates. And these are men and some women that there's not many women, but there's partners of become a family. People that I can actually call up and just chat to about life. Tom touched on something really interesting about we're in these really intense environments, and go for it, Tom.
It's an accelerated relationship you have with people, and it can sometimes be, I guess, adrenaline fueled, and it might even be a bit of anger. There might be a bit of frustration, and you can be like that
from you.
No. But then exactly the same. You end up with these fantastic, almost emotionally charged bonds with people, and you come out and you're all adrenaline, and you as you say, you took a photo of 5 of you all having a big hug and going, yes, how cool was that? And when you do, you find that these friendships that you have in motorsport, they're some of the best friendships you've had, and they sort of almost feel like those lifelong friendships, and you forge them very quickly. And you suddenly realise, well, this is someone who I'm really our minds mesh together. You have all these highs and lows that you share together, and it is really it just intensifies relationships, which is great, and that can also blow up. We've
all been there. That's human nature, though, right?
And isn't that the beauty of life, that you can have that, and you can have a blow up, and then you can let the waters calm, and all of a sudden it's like, okay.
But you've got a lot of like-minded people. They clearly love old cars. They clearly love racing, which means they're kind of competitive. In most cases, they're actually very successful in whatever they do in their world away from racing, whether it's in business or building or whatever it might be.
And also just legends in their own
just legends in international racing car drivers in their own right. So they're all somewhat successful, if you like. So they bring that to it. So as you said, when you do actually get to know the person behind the helmet, they're actually a lot of them are really interesting people and have done some amazing things. You look at the likes of, say, a Richard East or someone like that, and you see the stories he can tell, and you sort of go, oh my gosh, or a Jeff Morgan, or there's all these people that have got all these amazing backstories that you only know them as the guy that drives the Alfa or the Porsche or the Corvette or the whatever, but there's so much more to them once you start to, and you've had these amazing experiences where you said, we've been doing 200 kilometres an hour, down the straight at Bathurst together, and how cool's that? That's amazing.
Yeah. And for me too, I've because I got into racing in my mid-20s, I've grown up with a lot of people. I've actually grown up. Racing has really helped forge my character in a positive way. It's helped me get out of ego, which we all have, and you have to have to a healthy degree, because you are just man and car out there alone. And it takes a lot of bravery and courage to do what we do, pedaling well over 200 kilometres an hour, barreling down the straight. I mean, a lot of my racing fraternity's seen the best and worst of my personality, because when you're a grassroots, when you're a grassroots racer, right? I mean, I'm not rocking up in a Pantech yet. There's time. you're pretty bloody tired also just to get to that point where you come to a race meet. There's so much that goes into it, right? It's not all that easy. And there's a lot of hauling, a lot of lifting. I mean, I was so staunch. I was like, I'll lift my own wheels. And I had men offering to help me. And I'd be like, I don't need your help. And now I'm like, oh, please. Please.
The glamorous world of motorsport.
The glamorous world of motorsport. And so, of course, people see you in really testing, trying times. Also, the mateship is incredible. I think of myself as a generous, inclusive person, but it forges that aspect of a positive personality trait even more. When the chips are down for your mate, 2 garages down, you can actually help install a gearbox with them if you've got all the tools.
Look, we have that at...
I had that at the weekend. You had it at the weekend.
We have I had just a silly issue. Thermofan stopped working on my car. Yeah, the next minute there's 10 hands in the bonnet. Everyone, I think now look, in the end we probably stuffed it up having too many hands in there. But
might have been why it took a day and a half to fix it.
But again, there's always a silver lining. I missed the first race. I got to start the second race at the back of the grid, and we had a grid of about 35 cars. And if you ever, feel like your ego is just a bit bruised, start at the back of the grid and work your way through. And
you feel like Max Verstappen in no time.
The helmet got really tight really quickly.
It's actually a question for you both. I do have 3 questions about Group S that I'd love to ask a bit later on, but I really want to hear about your journeys, how you both got into historic racing in particular. You both have a skill set, and I know others. Shout out Adrian DeMoro, who I've been trying to get onto the pod, but he's busy going to Goodwood Revival and 2 kids and beautiful wife, Mel. He could have been professional. He's that good. And when he came on the scene, I'm like, everyone was like, who's this guy? Literally had holy crap, that guy can pedal, right?
Absolutely.
The skill level you guys are at is you could hop into any other sports car and really go competitively, but there's something that attracted you to historic. I'd love to learn your journey, how you got into it and how racing's changed the course and the trajectory of your life and things like that.
Yeah, so I've always been around cars, old cars, and I've always liked older cars more so than the new cars. But then the racing side sort of came to me quite early, and so we've got an old 356 that my dad had built up, so he was doing Targas. Then I started doing, even from the age, I think I did my first competitive motor car when I was 16, I think it was. So we were in and around that sort of scene, and so I had that bug, as you get. And then we started doing tarmac rallies and sort of navigational rallies and all that kind of stuff. And then when it came to sort of saying, well, what's next? I thought, well, I actually enjoy the racing side. So I started doing track days as you do, which is a nice, easy way to do, whether it's with Porsche Club or Alfa Club, or there's a whole range of different ways into it. And I thought, okay, I'll go and build something up. I was young, didn't have much money, so I thought, okay, I've got a Porsche 914 that we bought, and so decided to get that, put a roll cage in that, thinking that would be a good way to get into Group S racing. Worked out it's bloody slow. So never actually raced it. I did a couple of hill climbs at Arthur's Seat and thought, yep, okay, fun, but maybe not for me. And then we had bought another early 911, which we'd bought in Mornington off a car dealer. It was an original right-hand drive 1967 911S, which for the Porsche aficionados will know that's a pretty nice car.
That's a bloody nice car.
Didn't look that way. We'd spent 4 years restoring it. And so that was from 2002 to 2006. So my first event was actually Sandown in 2006, racing my little 2-litre 911.
Oh, cool.
And so for me, that was probably a 2 or 3 year process of doing, lots of track days. My good mate Marcus Hancock and I think we did 12 events in 1 year, I think it was. So it was basically in the diary once a month we were doing something. And so you got a lot of track time, which was good. Not in that car, but at least you're getting used to it. And then my very first event, I'll never forget, I've qualified dead last, going, all right, you talk about the ego. I was like, there's a way to try and that's a great leveler. And then
not as fast as I thought.
Yeah. And then you go through that whole thing. Okay, is it me? Is it the car? Found out it's probably a little bit the car, which was for the engine and gearbox that went into that. It was only getting about 70% throttle. So I was racing with 70% throttle. So when I gave it to the mechanic, said, it'd be good to get another 30 or 40 horsepower. I just feel like it gets to fourth gear and hits a brick wall. he said, yeah, well, I found it. He says, for the last few years, it's been only getting 70% throttle. So he said, I found your 30 horsepower. So I said, awesome. And then, of course, then you got
Ego goes.
suspension and all this kind of stuff. And I had an amazing time with that car. I did 85 races in that car. I did not have one DNF. So it was an amazing introduction. And Tom, at about the same time, we're doing 6-hour regularities. He was running his silver car, had the brightest red race suit you've ever seen.
What did you? Did you?
Yes.
and
Red goes
Tom
faster.
Tom was running around and he was doing regularities, and you could see that Tom was like, could drive, number one, but had a sort of, and his car didn't have a roll cage at that time. And I said, look, mate, come and get into Group S racing. And I think not that I was the catalyst for it. I know Nick Taylor was running Group S before I was, through his dad. And so all of a sudden, Tom came into it, a few more mates in Sydney. All of a sudden, I think at one point we had 6 or 7 2-litre 911s running. And I was kind of one of the first people doing that. And that was kind of a real connection. We built a real bond, and we got still some great photos of us lined up, all together. And Ryan Koenig's still running his 2-litre.
Ryan, shout out Ryan.
So there's lots of guys that were all great mates. And I met Ryan actually through tarmac rallying, met Nick through tarmac rallying, and we've all sort of transitioned almost into racing now that tarmac sort of got a bit too dangerous. And
you feel
cars
that way?
I think if you look at where tarmac rallying has got to in terms of how far they were pushing it, in terms of what was allowed in terms of modifications, the cars were going a lot quicker. Now, arguably in Group S as well, it's a lot quicker. If I go back to the late 2000s, so 2007, 8, 9, pole at Phillip Island was like a minute 54, minute 55.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like a 47 or 48.
Is it?
So
with the
cars,
front runners,
similar cars, like similar sorts of cars running, but tires, brakes. Everyone's probably pushing a little bit harder on the engine technology. Everyone's probably revving it a bit harder. Fuel's changed. A few people are running E85. So there's certainly, I won't say, there's cheap stations and people, but everyone's stepped it up a notch. But I think the drivers have become better too over that time as well.
I think the difference where you touch on there about tarmac rally and racing, on a circuit. On a circuit, you
can edge up to it.
Yeah, and you'd have to be very unlucky, and the circumstances would have to be quite unique and strange for you to be very, very badly injured.
Agreed.
Or even worse than that.
Yeah.
On a racetrack, because you've got cages, you've got safety walls, you've got barriers. Tarmac rallying, where you're going fast with trees, really, trees and cars don't mix. And to be honest, that's something that I would love to do. It's something I don't do. I'm kind of a bit of an 11/10 kind of person.
Really?
Yeah. I think we can say you are.
And I don't.
They don't nickname you sideways for nothing.
No. Well, and I guess how I got into racing, and it's probably a very similar trajectory to a lot of people. Used to race in go-karts. Mainly it was being a hoon in cars. And when I would probably be arrested for the behaviour, and if my kids behaved like I did when I was 18. But
you'd disown them.
Oh, absolutely. But I always loved cars. If you didn't work on your car, you didn't drive your car because they were horribly unreliable, and we were also thrashing them. But over time, I ended up, getting involved in different car clubs. So there was different cars I had. There was different car clubs I got involved in. I think it was WRX Club for a while, and one of those. And each time I got on the track, I went, I really, really love this. And with some go-karting experience, it was like, this is somewhere I'd like to go. And then I think it was actually Porsche Club where we probably first started to meet. And that's when I suddenly went like, hang on, it's a lot more fun, rather than racing against the clock. I guess the competitive beast in me was like, this is fun when you're racing against people. And again, the competitiveness, when we were doing one of these races, I took my car out and I had, with all my skill, taken that car to its absolute limit and then handed the keys to Alex who was 3 seconds faster in my car and handed the keys back to me. And I said, "Fucking hell." Okay, I don't know where those 3 seconds
I'll
are.
never forget that. I'll never forget. I still chuckle and tell that story. Tommy's like, "That's it," because we had basically identical cars. He's going, "No, that's it.
That
You
is
can't
it.
go any faster. You can't go any faster."
I said, I'm going to have to work on the car because it is. And I said,
You see what you can do.
See what you can do in the car. And first, he did 1 lap. It was 3 seconds. I've just gone, oh. So I went,
That's gone.
Okay, I've got a bit to learn. So, and to me, that was absolutely pivotal to where I went, stop trying to chase time with your car. Most of the time is, the loose, the loose nut holding the wheel. That's what you've got to tighten.
Driver error.
That's what you've got to tighten. Yeah. And so, so for me, being in same car, the 2-litre 911, and raced that for probably 6, 7, 8 years or something, and it was great. And because it was underpowered compared to some of the cars,
that's a really good point.
I actually think that was the best grounder, because you get to a point, and I'd like to think that I eventually found that 3 seconds that I was losing in my car, because an underpowered car teaches you so much racecraft and how to hold
mid-corner speed,
speed, and to get on the throttle early. It just teaches you a lot. Power hides a lot of driver error, and you can really become almost a lazy driver if you've got power. And whereas if you
who are you talking about, Tom?
Probably all of us. But then now I'm still racing a Porsche, but I'm now racing a 928, which is probably a bit not really known for being a race car, but all the ingredients are right. It's a V8 front engine, transaxle, 50-50 weight distribution. It does weigh about 1.5 tons. That doesn't help, but it's fantastic. And again, whereas I guess you've got camaraderie amongst all of the people. If there's someone else who's racing the same car, you tend to have a special bond. Tim Linus and I are both
Tim, shout out Tim.
the 928 boys.
Him and his 2-watch club. Have you heard? He's got a 2-watch club. They wear 2 watches. Yeah. It's an Adelaide thing.
Is it?
No, I doubled it. I did. I double watched for a little while. I had my Apple Watch and my other watch.
And then your Meta glasses.
Yeah, then my Meta glasses. Well, actually, my son's Meta glasses. Let's be fair, which I had to rent from him, by the way. So.
Yeah. So it's great. Going through having, I guess, racing then a different car within the same class, you just find a different group of friends to be racing with. And, the 928's, probably rather than mid-pack, it's probably at the back end of the front pack now. So I can see, the exciting racing that's happening at the front, and occasionally, if circumstances right, get up there with them.
Oh, yeah.
It's fun to it's fun to evolve both your driving skill and the car, and you actually make the car faster over time as well, because you understand a little bit more about the suspension setup. And although we're restricted in what you can do, there's still a lot of tweaks and a lot of refining that you do within the cars.
Yeah.
Well, I think also you talked about the driving it more on the limit. You get used to the car moving around and saying, what does that feel like? And is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? When you're driving an underpowered car, or I'll call it underpowered, or a low capacity car, then you have to try and learn what that is, and you can incrementally sort of step that up. It's a bit harder when you're doing a tarmac rally to try and get that sort of feel. So having that opportunity to do it in circuit racing, especially with a small capacity car, when you do finally take the step up, you say, oh, okay, I know what that feels like now. So every car you can sort of say, yep, same sort of thing. It just means, when I got into my latest car, which is a 2.7 911, very similar in a lot of ways, except it's got a bit more power and it's got a bit more tyre. So when I did my first laps in that, I've gone, how long's this horsepower thing been going on? This is unreal. Like, you put your foot down, the thing goes. I was like, that's awesome.
Yep.
And the rest of it actually is quite similar. And once you get used to that, then you say, okay, I'm feeling the same as I was in my 2-litre cars, but now I've got a bit more horsepower. So you get better again. And I think whether they're transferable skills, I think if you were jumping into a 928 or another car, I'd like to think that I can hopefully jump into most cars and within a couple of laps going, okay, I'm not on the ragged edge, but I think I've got to 90% of the car's capabilities pretty quickly. and you've always got that margin for error
I
as
can
well.
find 3 seconds for you.
You can find 3 seconds.
Very well said.
Starting the stopwatch 3 seconds after you cross the line.
It's such an interesting point, and it's a beautiful point that you have brought up. So thank you for that. Because 99 Big Red 1965 Julia Sprint GT, fitted with a 1600cc, but log booked as a 1750.
Cheater.
Yeah, people say that, and it's no. There was a small batch of us that were able to get through at that point. Dad will be like, "Don't talk about it." But there are a few of us, Peter Axford in South Australia. So when Peter and I race, it's like, "Oh, great! It's so exciting that you're here." And then it's like, "Oh shit! Now we're competing against each other." So point being, I've always felt a little frustrated when the V8s just thump me because I want to feel that speed. You know, it's not the ego that they're beating me, they're going to win outright, or that I've accepted that, but I want to feel that speed. So when I tell people that my ambition is to one day group and touring car race a Camaro, the feedback is totally mixed. So some people say, "Oh, that'll be great, you know, just foot on the gas and hammer, you know." And some people say, "You're going to hate it. It's a bag of bones, you know. You're going to miss out on that beautiful, the finesse of the 105, a well-balanced 105 with the limited slip diff, the suspension. I like to race on Yokeys. They're just enough sticky. The rear-wheel drive, carry around the corners. It's a beautiful car for someone that really is interested in driving. And I'm grateful that I've practiced racecraft over a solid 10-year period. Often more than 12 times a year would I be out there doing tests and tunes. I was right into it. So for me, I'm accustomed now to the max top speed of that car, which would be just over 200 kilometres per hour down Phillip Island Straight. I want to go faster in a Group N car. But I know that I'm going to sacrifice on a lot of the charm of the Alfa 105. It's a real driver's car. Chris Harris, Monkey, loves them. Clarkson loves the Alphas. There's a huge following for them, but they're busy. You're busy in them. This is not just point, shoot, poof, you know.
Well, there's probably a boxing analogy to that where, you know, the skill and, you know, of a lightweight boxing match, and it's all speed and pace and how they go compared to the heavyweights. You know, where they're slugging it out. So
knockout.
Yeah. And
good analogy.
I think it's right.
Yeah, and that's how it is. There's probably in a lot of cases, it's probably more skill in someone who's driving one of those lighter cars. I mean, the Myers, we mentioned them before, Simon and Damien. The way they throw those little, you know, sprites, and you know they're basically just a little roller skate of a car. And there was a fantastic photo of Damien overtaking a Shelby through Skyline at Bathurst down the
Reed Park. It was Reed Park.
Reed Park, and I think whoever was commentating at the time said, "That's not an overtaking spot." But
they made it one.
That was one,
and that's the perfect example. The Bathurst, exactly. You've got 3 straight bits and a wiggly bit.
Yep.
The V8s disappear. And then the cheeky bastards being David.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I give him a big pat on the back for that. I then throw some rocks at he and his brother, who went side by side down Conrod.
They held hands.
They held hands. I was sure they were holding hands as I was right behind them trying to
work out how to get past.
I swear from behind I could see their little shoulders going up and down as they were giggling to each other, blocking me where I had my chance to use the V8 power down Conrod, and all I can see is these little Myers just say, and we had a laugh about it. I was like, "You bastards."
On that note, what's it like driving Bathurst? I've only been pit crew there. What are some tips? Do I need to grow a bigger set before I come on, guys? It is
I know, I've got my own thoughts on
in
Bathurst.
a classic car.
Yeah.
With you're like this far off the.
I love it.
I think, look, Bathurst, I think, I've tried to describe this when I was commentating the last year's 12-hour for our category. In a small capacity car, you feel, if you've got any mechanical sympathy at all, you are basically saying sorry to the car going up the hill. Because it's like you have got your foot welded to the firewall, to the floorboard, trying to get this thing to wring its neck because you just don't realise how uphill it is.
Yeah.
And then you get to the top and it's flowing and it's all great. And then you're going downhill and then you're basically just – most cars aren't geared for Bathurst. And I know my cars have always never been geared for Bathurst. So like you're saying, your Alfa, my 2-litre when I ran my 2-litre there was geared to do 204 kilometres an hour. And I was sitting on the rev limiter for about 16 seconds because it was like you're sitting there and you're just going ding, 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 ding. You know, you could make a cup of tea, before you actually get to the chase. And it was a little bit the same in my 2.7, actually, to the point that my 2.7, horrible weather that weekend, it was 42 degrees, as far as weather. My car ended up lunching itself in the last race. But even then it was geared to do 220 kilometres an hour. And so you're sitting there just going, I'm on the rev limiter. But horsepower is your friend definitely at Bathurst.
Bathurst, okay.
I think the most disorientating thing with Bathurst is a little bit like running at the Grand Prix, at the AGP. You'll notice when you run at the Grand Prix, you get the reverberations of the sound off the walls, which is a little bit disorientating because you don't normally have that at most circuits. So you sort of got
I loved it. I thought it was the crowd cheering me on.
Go, Tom.
I thought it was Lewis Hamilton.
So that's kind of disorientating a little bit. So and then there's no give. There is absolutely zero give.
Terrifying.
If you miss a line, you get in the marbles, you get a little bit of a tap, you're in the wall, it's game over. And so you've got to give it so much respect. And so I think those guys that have done lots and lots and lots of laps there can build up that confidence and run within a couple of inches of the wall. But you've got to have a bit of margin for error because you still got to remember you're in an old car, you've got all the safety gear, but holy moly, it's a daunting track, but it is hell fun too.
Could I quickly ask you on that note, scariest incidents that you've ever had? Is that a topic, or like have you had moments where you've been generally like, ooh, that was?
No, I haven't had one.
Really? I've had so many. What's going on in my head?
And given my nickname is Sideways, and people see footage of me, opposite locking.
Fastest hands in the West End.
Opposite locking down a straight corner or somewhere else. And people say, wow, you must have been, And I go, no, it's kind of, I don't know. I think a lot of that stuff.
It's your happy place, Sideways.
It is. And it's also, it always does feel in control. There's times when it gets taken out of your control if someone hits you. There's times when it's out of control, but for most of the time you're in control. You might not be exactly on the track where you want to be. You might not be, where is fastest. But when you're a bit loose, it is, and you're thinking in your head, don't do that again. Don't do that again. And go through. Coming back to Bathurst.
Yes.
I love Bathurst, and that is that is the mecca of Australian motorsport, and probably even touches on worldwide how good it is. To me, Bathurst was 10-year-old kid, Cocoa Pops in the lap, and used to get up early and be watching Alan Moffat and Peter Brock and all these guys, and it was just Bathurst. It was just an absolute the thought to then actually be racing, and we're going to be racing again at Bathurst
in
2026.
March.
Yep.
Support
I
category.
saw the email thinking about it.
Yes, support category for the 12 hour, which is fantastic to be amongst those international cars, which are almost the
kangaroos.
Almost the modern day equivalent of our cars, the sports.
Don't talk about the kangaroos.
Don't talk about the kangaroo.
But
I was commentating at that point in time. I was like,
yeah,
that was the most awkward thing. I was like, oh no,
don't mention the kangaroo.
Switch off, Peter.
The beauty I found of Bathurst was that's just living out your dream. And
that's true.
And when I remember coming across and a bit like Alec, it doesn't matter how much horsepower you got going up the mountain, and people don't realise until you get there how steep that mountain is. No one's got enough horsepower going up the mountain, but then as soon as you get to the top, and my car is quite balanced at high speed, so I just flow across the top, and then you start coming down, and you've got gravity helping you, and you're going faster and faster. And I don't know. I think maybe I should stop holding my breath at the top and not having my first breath until I hit the chase, because I start to get a little bit lightheaded and start to think I'm king of the mountain. I'm Peter Brock or whatever. So it's probably just a bit of a lack of oxygen in there. But times you've got to pinch yourself and go, wow, I'm racing at Bathurst. And it is absolutely fantastic. As I say, the wall's right there. When you nail a lap at Bathurst, you kind of can't help but sort of get the chest out a bit and just go, man, that was awesome. But again, I've also had my car fill up with kitty litter where I haven't quite nailed it at Bathurst, and that A, is embarrassing, and B, ruins
Great level.
ruins a good race.
Choose the car
but it's a
up
level
too.
It's a level. I think
It is.
you talk about the oh shit moments or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
I think that's about the learning you need to go through yourself. Some people that are really bullet a gun, I'm just going to go and do this. They're going to get themselves into trouble.
I've seen them spear off
and you've
very
got
quickly.
to incrementally just sort of notch yourself up on it. And that's where there is lots happening, especially on the greatest opportunity for something to happen is a start line, someone's stall, or going into turn one because you've got all these cars converging on one spot.
Yeah,
and
a million into one.
they're never going to be as close as they are on lap one, turn one.
Yep.
From that perspective, I think that's where you've got to have a little bit of patience, but also spatial awareness, because I think people get very fixated on what's in front, but you've got to use your peripheral vision, you've got to use your mirrors, and you've got to be constantly looking at that the whole time, which does take a little bit of practice, I think. And you've got to get comfortable in being a little bit uncomfortable saying cars are really close. Like I had one a couple of weeks ago where Ray Narkowitz and I were coming into turn one and there was a A4 bit of paper between us because it was so close, and I thought, how are we not touching?
And we tense up too.
And I'm like going, oh, that's close. And I'm trying to give him room and he's trying to give me a bit of room, but we're both running out of circuit. But we got through that. And annoyingly, the camera that I had set up inside the car, because it was actually race 2 and I put the other camera in his car, is it didn't actually sort of show the left-hand side of the car because I don't know how close we were. And I'm so annoyed someone didn't get a photo of it because there must have been nothing in it. And even if it might have been this much, but it felt like it was this much. And that's the excitement part of it. And you come out the other side, and that's where you do give the guy a fist pump and say, how good was that?
Yep.
That was unreal. And again, your confidence grows with that. And so I think you become a better driver the more time you spend close with each other.
And you end up having someone who becomes your great rival on the track and great friend off the track. I mean, for me, Ross Jackson and I in the big D Tomaso, the 351, and it's a beautiful car, and Ross is a great steerer. I mean, part of historic racing for a long time, and we have raced door handle to door handle for 10 years, and we have never touched once.
Have you not?
We've never
cheeky kisses.
Not even a peck. And which is great.
I kissed him once, but that was because he was so slow in the corner. And my front of my car went up his exhaust pipe. Didn't damage his car, and you can kind of see it on the footage from Sandown from a few years ago. But basically, his car propped in the middle of the corner last turn at Sandown, and so my front of my bumper bar basically went into his exhaust pipe. So it damaged just cracked a little bit of front of my bumper. But other than that, it was like. Okay, and you could hear the commentators going, "Oh, that was close." I was going, "Yeah, it was actually."
and Ross is one of the people who's probably going through the transitional stage of his sons, who are both very good drivers themselves.
Are they?
Now pushing Dad for a drive in his car.
Yeah.
And Chris has
that was the 3-second thing between he and Chris, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, it was the three, and Chris is actually and. The advantage for Chris is he isn't weighed down by the cost of repairing the car. It's amazing. It's amazing how when you know you're going to have to pay for damages, how much that weighs down the car. Whereas someone jumping in Dad's car tends to have that weight lifted from them, and they tend to be a little bit faster. So Ross is, I think he's 2 parts proud, 1 part annoyed that his son's faster than him.
He did get quicker though, because I think that gave him
vision.
It was
absolutely pushed him.
Yep.
And he's now, now it's almost a bit where Alex, jumped in my car 10 years ago and found a few seconds. With his son finding a few seconds, he's going, I'm going to find it now. Unfortunately, he had an off at Phillip Island. He's repairing his car, and he's. Again, actually, I want to shout out quickly to Ross, because Ross came up to Winton last weekend. He's not racing. when you're not racing and you're at the track, there is nothing more annoying. It is absolutely frustrating.
It's super hard being a spectator when you're a racer.
Who wants to be at a race meet when you're a racer?
It's
not racing?
I've always found it really hard.
Unless it's F1, otherwise, it's really going. It's kind of weird.
And Ross came up to Winton and did the commentating for us.
And did a great job.
Did he?
Did an amazing
Well
job.
done, Ross.
Absolutely fantastic job. And to be honest, he was actually buzzing afterwards.
He was.
He's in the pit. He goes, I had an absolute ball.
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
that. And from our point of view, it was fantastic having someone. We had Emma Dean.
Emma Dean.
Emma Dean was doing the commentating as well.
With Darren.
And she was absolutely fantastic. It was, she's got great insights and, got a great history in motorsport as well. But to have Ross in there who's raced for so long, I think he got a real buzz out of it as well.
Look,
it was just great.
It's one of those things when I've been sidelined to spectating out of choice to focus on a job and collecting degrees and certs, which, anyway. So it's one of those things when I do go to a race meet and I'm not racing and I know everyone in the pits and they know me, and I always have like two things that I say to them. You either need coffee or water or you want me to fuck off. So can I be helpful with either of those? And they're like, just fuck off because I'm busy. Love you. See you. We get it. Like you don't want someone smothering around you in the race pits, but you can be helpful. Something that I found really helpful is bring water. Or bring a coffee. Like if you don't know what to do, a racer will never say no to a bottle of water because we're probably dehydrated, and a coffee is always welcomed as well. And on that note, I'd like to ask you guys: historic racing is physically very demanding. A lot of people don't realise that we're racing cars period spec, which means no power steering, no assisted braking, no.
Well, you got power
in terms
steering
of cooling or anything like that.
Like braking. I don't know what she's driving.
There goes that. For me, I found racing Big Red very demanding.
It is.
I really worked on my strength and cardio because the heat's insane. It gets up to about 50 degrees inside the cabin and you're drenched afterwards. So, I mean, do you guys work on your fitness? Has it kind of forged within you? Yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, you know me. You guys are...
We've just operated with one brain here.
but like it is something to consider, right?
It is.
That you have to have fitness.
Yeah, it is. And look, we don't have particularly long races. They're usually about 20 minutes. And occasionally we'll have, the Enduro in Sydney is about an hour. That's one where you've got to make sure you can drink and, keep rehydrating in that race. Most of our races are about 20 minutes, but you will come out very fatigued. That beer at the end of the day has never tasted so good.
The cleansing ale.
And you do sleep well. So no, you've really had a workout, and you've also had a bit of a mental workout. And anyone who's had adrenaline rush, there's an adrenaline high and there's a come down from it. So you do go through some physical ups and downs
100%.
when you're racing.
I find it fascinating when you're sitting inside, generally in dummy grid, and you're sitting there and you're going, I don't know about you, but for me, I know my heart rate's sitting at about 120, and I'm saying I'm sitting in a car doing absolutely nothing, engine is switched off, and my heart rate's already at 100, 120 beats, and you're going, why? I've done this so many times. I've done like 150 or 200 races. And we're going, it's still like, but you're in control. Like it's not like you're jittery or you're nervous, but it's just, I don't know. And then from a physical point of view, you're right. I think that's part of the joy of racing older cars, and the bit that doesn't really excite me as much with more modern cars. I get the opportunity to take some modern cars out on the track and you sort of go, this is all amazing. But it could make anybody look amazing because of all the stuff that helps you. There's no give with no ABS, with no traction control, with no anything to try and help you other than what you're able to, the inputs that you're able to make, the downshifts and the way that you can try and balance the car. That's the bit that is a sense of achievement. It's a little bit like, golf. If you've got anyone can shoot even par if you've got, a handicap and saying, oh, no, I managed to shoot my handicap today. Yeah, but okay. But if you're a scratch golfer and you're able to shoot even par, that's a completely different, kettle of fish. So that's the thing I think I enjoy about the older cars is that you do get to learn how to drive properly, and it is physical. You come out and you go, oh, shoulders are a bit sore, or you've realised how sweaty you've been, where you feel like, okay, I haven't done that much, but it's exhausting.
Taxing.
But it's good fun. It's a good way of working out too.
Absolutely.
Saying I can work out and sit still all at the same time. It's good.
and there's always something to do. Between races, you're tweaking with things. You might be helping someone else with their car. There's always something to do. There's also generally a lot of beautiful cars to go and have a look at. So if you can get yourself organised, which one day I might. But
2048, I think it was. We're putting it in the diary. I think that's
Oh God! And Adriano De Moro is. I love him so much, but that guy, we laugh about it all the time. Never had the race program. Never knew what time we were racing. Was always under the car, and I'd be like, "Mate, suit up." He's like, "Oh shit, are we on?" Like
sounds like someone I know.
Like you.
All right, I'm gonna at risk of offending my wife, I'm gonna tell a story.
Oh no, not that story. Oh God,
Phillip Island. So
Prue, turn off now. Turn off now, Prue, right now.
You tend to have a bit of a routine before you go out and race, and you pick up your gear, your gloves, your harness, your helmet, check your tyre pressures, and do everything. Alex and I are probably in a situation where we do, during the day, often have a lot of people coming up with things that are relevant and they need to talk about. We tend to try to have a little bit of time to ourselves just before we go out and race. On this occasion, I didn't, and I ended up in the dummy grid. And my wife, by the way, would rather go to jail than come to a racetrack. She does not have...
Shout out, Mrs.
She doesn't absolutely love it, but I do love it when she comes along. I got up to the dummy grid, driving out. Prue's noticed that I've left my Hans device. So that's the horseshoe around your neck Hans device.
Protects your neck from breaking.
Yeah, so I've gone up there early for once, strapped in, gone up there. Prue's found my Hans device sitting there on the back of my truck and knows that's important. Now, if any of you know, Prue's punching well above her weight to have landed me. She doesn't think she's going to get lucky twice, and that is a complete lie.
She's an absolute stunner.
Yes, so one person in this relationship is punching well above their weight. But Prue has tried to bring my Hans up to me, which is absolutely fantastic. And the other thing that is fantastic about Prue, she's very task-driven and she gets shit done.
Yeah.
So she's charged up with my Hans device, which is great. Unfortunately, we'd left the dummy grid and we were doing our...
and you hadn't realised at this point.
No.
You were just like, you're in...
I'm in race mode. The next thing I look over and there I see Prue, who's not following any of the race protocols because it's a bit of an alien post there. She's on the pit wall waving my Hans device at me and I'm like... And then I've sort of gone, oh. As it worked out, I had to pull up over the side. Prue's run down. Eventually they let me start from the dummy grid.
Pit exit.
Pit exit. I did get called up to the steward's office to where I said, look, how is my wife ever going to get lucky enough to land someone like me? She just wanted to save me. And I had to look at Prue and just said, get out of here, idiot.
Your Hans device, what year was that introduced? Because I did a lot of track days and racing without it. And my chiropractor, shout out Scott McGuinness, used to play for Hawthorn, recently did some fresh x-rays on me and popped his head around the corner and went, so how many times have you crashed the car again? Because I've just suffered a lot of whiplash in the years. So thank God for the Hans device because that was introduced, I'm pretty sure, like 2014, maybe 2015 as compulsory.
I think it was earlier than that.
Yeah,
that was much earlier than that.
I didn't get the memo.
Well,
became mandatory.
And I was one of those
got a feeling
delinquents playing with cars in my youth. So
I've got a feeling I've run a Hans basically the whole time, but I could be wrong on that. But
I think it became compulsory about then.
Yeah,
but
it was strongly encouraged but not mandated, and I think anyone that wasn't running one, I still, there's still categories like regularity and that don't have to have them, which in some instances you kind of get, but at the same time, it's one of those things where you say you can mandate the minimum level, But most
Wear
people should be
it.
actually having
And
more.
that's one of the beauties of Group S, in that we have reduced safety levels so that you're not, I guess, bastardising your car completely. Like if you look at a modern race car now, it bears very little resemblance to a road car, with all the the different cages and bits and everything that's going on in them. They're just something that can't be a road car. We have a somewhat reduced, safety level, given the older cars with the cages. And with that comes the responsibility of not banging into each other and it being a contact-free category. So there's a give and take. You have, slightly less safety, but any safety you can put on, so your helmet, your hands, and your gloves, and fireproof clothing, fire extinguishers, all those things are absolutely great and compulsory at all levels. But because we do have a somewhat lower safety level, any car-to-car contact is just it just should never happen. And any thought that just a little nudge or something like that. And I was watching SUV, racing in America, where basically that, to them, rubbing is racing, and they're
Stock car racing, the NASCAR.
And they're just hitting each other. And to me, it looks like the least skilled racing of all time.
But that comes back to your point before. When you've got cars that are basically identical, you need to doing that to try and get that margin, because the cars are identical. So how else do you unless you are that more supremely talented, because you're essentially running a one-make series.
Or a mistake by the other person.
You're basically trying to force them into a mistake.
Whereas ours is about knowing the car. I mean, if I'm coming up on an Austin Healey, well, I know I'm probably going to be able to outbrake them, as opposed to if I'm coming up on a 911. Well, I know that, maybe I'm not going to outbrake
Do you know what else I think too? I'm seeing that little tail light in front of me and I go, if I hit that tail light, he's going to be waiting 3 months for the parts from the UK and he's going to hate me so much. And there's all these things, cars are the stars.
Yes.
But as you will learn, hopefully this inspires more people to get involved in historic racing. There are a lot of big personalities too, and it is a lot of fun. And so as much as you come down to see the cars, you'll get to know the people in the pits. And that's the joy of historic racing. It really attracts incredible personalities, which you guys are just such fantastic ambassadors for it, the sport. And we're so lucky to have, because I don't think people really realise that the amount of work that goes into what you're doing, running.
Well, I think the thing, I mean, thank you, first of all. But the one, as I said maybe at the outset, we wanted to elevate the events that we were competing at. And so by going to Bathurst in a few weeks' time, we'll be at the Bend.
Cool.
But the opportunity to try and be at bigger events and showcase our cars, there's a lot of people go, wow, these are awesome. This is what I had on my bedroom wall when I was a kid. But it's also trying to really bring along that next wave or that next generation, because I think that the point that you see now at a historic race meet is a lot of these categories disappearing. People haven't, younger generations don't know what, a certain older open wheeler is.
Or what a gear shifter is.
And so without that, no one wants to buy them. No one's then therefore going to race them. No one's going to be there to repair them. So they essentially just disappear. And so we need to try and foster that next phase of people to come in to ensure that, I'm almost 50 and I'm still one of the younger guys there. But, we've got
chicken.
But there's a lot of guys that are in there, 60, sorry, Tom.
Well, Dad 77 was on the pod just talking about driving at Bathurst.
And there's
the
guys
first
that are in their
time at
80s that are still running. And
And I've got one thing, whereas I very rarely refer to it as historic racing. I always refer to it as classic racing.
Ah, interesting. That's interesting.
I feel vintage and historic, to me, sounds a bit,
That's really interesting.
It feels a little too old school for me. And
that's fascinating.
That said, probably the mecca of all that is Goodwood, and that's something, anyone who's into motorsport, loves them.
So cool.
But I think as far as attracting people, we don't want people to think that it's the old the old specials or the jalopies or just things that, chitty chitty bang bang looking stuff is just, it's just not what it's about. These are the cars that were on your poster, on your wall. These are your poster
I love
cars.
chitty chitty bang bang. I love historic.
Yeah.
For me, the pre-war era, if I won the lotto tomorrow, again, there's signs. Who's that in that ERA hooning around? Who's that in that Bugatti hooning around? Oh, it's Dom. So
But
historic is a sexy word to me, but it's interesting to know that to you it connotates something else.
Yeah. But again, you're talking about such a small amount of people that do have, like you or some of us that actually do love that stuff. But
it requires a lot of knowledge.
And it requires money.
And weirdness.
But you need money to do these things too. So that's the other great part of Group S is you've got guys that have got, skinny budgets that are running a car that's 20 or 30 or 40 grand.
Yeah.
But then you've got guys at the other end that are cars that are worth over $250,000 and bringing a couple of people to look after their cars over the weekend. So they're all running together. And guess what? A lot of them are running right next to each other as well on the track, which is really cool.
And having the same amount of fun.
Big Red 99 was a $500 car. It's been in the family for over 25 years.
Yep. That's awesome.
And so now it's certainly not valued that. But that's the case in point. We do it on a budget, Dad and I, very grassroots. We rock up with a little trailer and our esky and we love it. We feel really connected to the sport. It makes it really fun. Of course, if we won the lotto, we got Pantex. Of course, everyone wants a bit more luxury to make it easier, but there are ways to do it. But it requires a lot of sacrifice, a lot of time to build up the car and to I don't know, that the grassroots element of it is what keeps you connected to your mates in it.
Totally.
And keeps the joy of learning it, keeping the skill and the craft alive. With the 22 minutes that I have left with you both before you shoot off to your incredible careers, I'm hoping you might be able to answer one of the questions that I had here. There is a bit of what people don't know about historic racing or classic sports car racing is sponsorship is quite limited. You have both worked tremendously hard in the background to secure title sponsors over the years, which certainly helps the competitor. Can you shed a little bit of light on how maybe in the future we can get more people involved to help with the rising costs of things? I mean, race fuel the last time I checked was basically $5 a litre. That type of stuff all adds up. And
actually it's funny you mentioned fuel because you can also just run 98. So again, people on different budgets can run different things. There'll be people running E85 and their cars are tuned for it. There's other people running race fuels. I run 98 with some octane burst in, which from one of our sponsors, which is VP Race Fuels. We have our cars usually look shiny because of Bowden's own.
Thanks to Dan and Chris. Big shout out to them.
Yes, they've been great. And Joe, who races with us, Joe Collegia, Apex Steel, has been very generous at times as well. So we had Gulf Oil Australia were also one of our sponsors for a while.
Ron Goodman from Exclusive Bodyworks helped us at Bathurst a few times. My 105, which everyone probably goes to on a daily basis to try and see what
we've all got the bug.
Done the theoretical purchases on Pantex or those cars.
And look, we try and provide a bit of value back to people who are sponsoring us by promoting them, having their stuff on there. We feel like we're a popular category. I think people see our racing and I guess they look and they go, wow, hang on, Corvettes, Panteras, but they look and
Porsches,
just go,
Alfas.
And people who don't know what Group S or even Group N is probably in a similar thing, just look and go, why are all these cars racing together? That's a really wild field. And then they start to see the racing and they watch the first bit, the second bit, and as far as the sponsors, there's a bit of value in there because there's eyeballs on us because people find it interesting and exciting racing, and it's not you're not really supposed to in the fifth category have sponsors as such.
You can with the necessary approvals, but there's a process to go through.
Can you clarify that? Meaning, I can't have my suit totally branded with something.
You could.
Anything on the car you can't.
That's right.
So the car, it's meant to be no sponsorship on the car. So because our cars in Group S, classic sports car racing, are not cars with what they call certificate of description. So they haven't raced in period. I can take my car that, a Triumph that I've had sitting in the shed, put a cage in it, go race. So it actually hasn't got a race history. The irony of it is now, as we constantly say, most of our cars have now got more race history than some of the cars that did race in period because, some of these cars have been running for 20 and 30 years.
Yeah.
In period, they ran for maybe 1, 2, 3, 5 years max. So
that's a really interesting point.
Most of these cars have actually got a huge amount of history. I looked it up last night. I've done 72 races in my car. This one since 2019. So it's done 25
wonder you're
events.
bloody winning a lot as well. That's seat time.
But if you look at the number of sponsors that there are on modern race cars, it's a huge amount of money to go. Stick it up. For us, we're not allowed to have that unless you get the necessary approvals, and it's got to be as a category that you do it, not as an individual. And so for the likes of when we did have Gulf Oil or Exclusive Bodyworks or Bowden's or My 105 or VP, we had to then approach CAMS Motorsport Australia for that permission. It has to get signed off. You have to disclose what amount that has been received. Is it to the benefit of the category or the individual members or the competitors? If so, how much? And show that there's been a tangible gain for that. And in the big events like Bathurst or the Bend, which we're running with SRO, those entry fees are pretty high. And it's the onus is on the club to actually buy those grits. So we as the office holders of the club are essentially signing the club up with the approval of the committee to say we're signing up to $100,000 worth of cost for the club.
Wow.
And if we have 5 cars turn up, then the club's essentially then bankrupt. So we've got to
bad news, everyone.
Really
bad news.
So
you're using this platform to announce.
That's right, exactly. But so 2 things that we did when Tom and I came into being president, vice president, and then we switched, was to one, get some financial stability for the club. The club's now a lot more financial than it was previously, which allows you to then go and say, yes, we'll commit to those bigger events and have a little bit of buffer there just in case we don't get the number of people, but you can only do that so many times. And so you do rely on things like the sponsors to then give you 5, 10, 15 grand to sort of say that enables you to keep the entry fees at a level that makes it the ability for people to do, because those events are not cheap. It's a couple of grand to go to have the entry fee for Bathurst. You haven't paid for fuel. You haven't prepared the car. You haven't paid to get there. You haven't put your accommodation. You haven't had your food yet. So it does become an expensive weekend for those bigger events, but they're icon events too. Who doesn't want to do that? So
Childhood dream.
Does that impact how many events you do throughout the year? Yeah, maybe. That's why now we're not doing it every year, because it blew the budget for people to then do a Phillip Island or a Winton.
Everyone's bankrupt. Going to Bathurst.
Yeah,
I'm on the tuner again for 3 months, guys.
and as we know, Bathurst is hard on cars, so you're likely to have some sort of
and maybe marriages too and relationships. Like every boyfriend I've ever had is like, yeah, I'm dumb. I think I dated her. She was just never around.
You do see. I guess it's almost a standard thing of team names or team sponsors. And for most of us, we don't have it blank, but you'll see a lot of times my generous wife, my forgiving wife.
God,
you will see a lot of people just acknowledging, saying, "I'm only here through the."
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad. Oh, look, it's such an important point, and I speak on behalf of myself and all the other members of the club. Thank you so much to you both for all your efforts, and to everyone else in the club. Shout out to Xanth, who takes these beautiful photos. Yes. We've got Hung in the membership as well. You've probably got an Oscar list-worthy thing of,
Hung's our champion of Group S. He does all our points score, and he's been on the committee. We've got a great committee: Tammy, Doug, Damien, Sam, treasurer. So and over the years we've had fantastic committee members. In fact, we celebrated some of our earliest presidents and members with life membership, which is a really
last year.
really nice thing. Five people, and 3 of them still racing, and at the time all 5 were actually still racing. It was a really nice recognition for the work that they'd done, because
Absolutely.
we were fortunate enough to come into something that had a great foundation, and we've been able to build it, and we're pretty proud of what we've built, the two-headed monster here. We've been working away at it, but there was great foundation, so we wanted to, I guess, recognise those guys who did the early pioneering and the real heavy lifting early days to make a great foundation for Group S.
Yeah, you feel like you're building something too. Like, we're talking on the way here on the phone, talking about what's happening, what are the things we need to do, and you've got your everyday life, family life, work life, but this is the nice distraction because you're passionate about it, and it's good. You actually see that, and it's nice when people recognise that, to say, hey, thank you so much, this is awesome. Thanks for organising the drinks on a Saturday after the race, or thanks for the awards, or thanks for the sponsorship. And just a small thank you is validation alone to say, great.
Because there's a bit of cat herding going on.
Yeah. Look, and a shout out to the amazing volunteers that make race meets happen.
Without that, we're not racing.
We're not racing. It doesn't exist. So shout out to all the volunteers, all the flaggies, all the marshals, all the people that make it happen. We'd have nothing.
And, as you mentioned before, Xanthia and Phil Wisewood with our photos. They do an amazing job for us. But and actually, I'm going to shout out to Bob Buck, who's
Bob, the sealer of engines.
Who's our technical liaison from
and Bob's 80, like Bob's 80,
Bob's 80, but he loves it. But
he's older than that.
It does. It does keep you young.
It does.
The motor we see some of the guys, and if I'm still racing like they are at their age, I'll be bloody wrapped, because
keeps you fit too. You look at guys like Brian Weston or a Jeff Morgan and
Colin Wilson Brown.
There's all these guys that are actually still steering bloody well into their bloody. Like you just said, I hope I'm like that.
Well, they're probably like me, where I still think in my head I'm 20. So
I do too, but
I can't. I imagine they are exactly the same. Exactly the same. Whereas,
no, I agree.
And it does. It really does. And it keeps your mind active. That's one of the things too, because there's a lot to process.
Keeps your hands active too. Sorry,
keeps us out of trouble in a safe way. And look, speaking on behalf of myself, I'm 40 and I feel truly very blessed to I'm getting back into racing after a long hiatus. And whilst I don't have children to pass it down to in the future, I hope to be an ambassador for the division in itself, to encourage more men and women into the sport. Anyone really that's got the courage and the drive. You need a blend of both. But in our last 10 minutes, I'd really like to wrap up just with an eye to the future. You're both fathers. You have children. Is it your hope that they pick up the love and the passion for historic racing? And where do you see it going? You've got more of an insight into having teenagers and young children, where their interests are lying. Jay Leno is a little bit more of a cynic about it. He thinks that, it's going to be a dying art driving a classic car, vintage car, because young kids simply aren't being taught the skill. Yep. So I'll hand it over to you as a bit of a last wrap up. What's the future hold for classic car racing?
There's a little bit of hope in the Stabber household, because both my kids had to get a manual license, and their first car has to be a manual. So Max and Mimi, both in manual cars, and it's quite funny, because both Max and Mimi have had instances where their friends or someone's had to move a car, and they go, the friends all go, I don't know how to drive a manual, and and a lot of the especially I guess with Mimi being driving a little MX-5. And some people are going, how do you know what you're doing? And I, when I was first teaching, I was saying, it will become second nature. You won't even notice that you're doing it. It'll just all happen. But the beauty about, I guess, driving a manual car is that you have to be engaged in driving. It's very easy to put a car in drive, turn the music up, and not concentrate on driving. When you're driving a manual, you've got to note what the engine's doing, when to put the clutch in, what you've got to do, and it becomes second nature. You become a bit one with the car, when you're driving a manual. There's a lot more going on.
Hard to pick up a phone too when you're driving.
Hard to pick up the phone. So both my kids drive manuals. I think Max is keen to come racing again. They're both at uni at the moment, so time poor, and with footy and with cheer for Mimi, they've got their other things they do, but they know there's motorsport there. They know that I'm a tragic, and I'm ready to bring them into it. So I think they'll both come racing with me at some point, and it'll be great. It'll be really good.
I can't wait to welcome them in.
I don't know about my kids. They have enjoyed doing a bit of go-karting over time.
Really?
But I think that they, as much as I've got very much a philosophy of, okay, let them try lots of things, but don't push them into things. So I saw in an environment that when I was growing up playing golf, there's a lot of kids that were being pushed to play and try and make that a profession by parents, and they basically it unwound the wrong way on them. And so I want to be able to give them that opportunity. My wife and I say, okay, if they want to have a crack, great. If not, then that's okay too. They'll naturally find their way. Do I see that either of them are going to get into car racing? Don't know. I think my son's probably too safety conscious. My daughter, maybe, but she certainly, let's see. I mean, they're 13, 15 respectively.
So much change and growth to come.
But I think it's a nice thing if they do turn up. And the greatest thing they actually had was when we were on television a few weeks ago for Winton Festival of Speed. A big shout out to Ian Ross for getting that on TV with and all the commentators. But having my kids and my wife actually sit at home and actually see the racing and hear the commentary, that brought them closer to it. And they said, even my wife said, who a little bit like Prue said, I'd rather go to jail than go to a race meet. She didn't say that. Shout out to my wife, Sonia. But that I think does bring people a little bit closer to the sport, but also they say, oh, okay, I can kind of see why you're doing it as well. It's not just some guys running around a track going, what's this all about? So,
and one or two crazy women out there like as well trying to keep up as well. I mean, it's just a ratio thing, but yeah.
So look, let's see. If they do, great. If not, then that's fine too.
Yeah.
Did you ever think, if you were to look back, okay, how do I phrase this?
Like I wanted to go racing because my dad was always around cars.
Is this a surprise to you that you're here now doing this? Would it be a surprise to your younger self?
It wouldn't be a surprise that I was racing because it's been in my blood. And I don't think my father had some, I guess a variety of different cars, but usually big cars to fit 6 kids in. So, there were usually station wagons and things. That wasn't a real sports car, upbringing for me. It was more family cars, but I always had an interest in cars. And I think I'll pass it on to my kids. I think my kids are fairly car conscious, but I always knew I'd be racing at some point. I didn't quite make it to F1. I'm really sometimes quite surprised.
Got the helmet at least.
Yes, but no, I love anything to do with motorsport. So I'm an absolute F1 tragic. I will watch any form of motorsport I can watch. I absolutely love. So for me, it's a big thing. And then I just love cars. I just can't help but as I'm driving along, I'm
rubbernecking at cars,
little beady little eyes looking around and just noting what every single car is. I can't help but look in my rear vision mirror and see headlights coming up tonight and go, is that a da-da-da?
Have fun with it.
And I just it's something I've done since I was a kid. I've always just looked, what's that car? What's that car? And I don't know. I think it's a great passion. And for me too, I was saying this, I've had some mechanical issues and things recently with the car, and someone was saying I was being quite patient with it. And for me, the car is my happy place, and I get all sorts of work stresses and pressures, and there's life has its pressures. I try and make cars and motorsport don't stamp your feet, don't get angry, try and be patient, and just work through it, and just keep it a fun place. So for me, it's a little. I think Eric Bana said in his movie The Beast that the car becomes like the campfire that you gather around, and that for
it's
me,
a great line.
That for me is exactly how I see cars. Is that's my happy place. That's if I'm talking about cars, and I'll bore the shit out of people probably talking about cars, but that is for me. That's where I'm happiest, And driving is my real happy place. And then you take driving to the nth degree, and that's racing, and that's where I'm happiest.
And I think if you come back to the family element, so I'm lucky enough that Dad still is running around in regularity, and we get to do events. I've got my brother-in-law
Shout
that's
out
now
to
into Stewie, absolutely. Got my brother-in-law Ryan, who's now racing as well. So, he's now part of it. But I think if you look in even at just our category, you've got brothers racing, you've got father and son racing, you've got mum, son and father racing. So you've got all these combinations of people coming to the track and actually either supporting each other or competing with each other, which is kind of a unique, thing. There's not too many sports where you actually have, lots of people doing that together. So it's a nice thing from a family perspective. And I'm lucky that I've been able to do it with my dad. Maybe my kids won't. That's okay. But it makes the bond even nicer. And you've had it with your dad.
I've had it with my dad, and I had him on the pod, and it really was such a pleasure and such a treat to have Dad on. And like he says, at 77, it's just incredible to him that he still gets to do this, and it's not over for him either.
No.
We'll probably share 99 and have some fun together, and just like you said, make it more of a fun thing and really enjoy it.
I'm just jealous of his hair.
The hair, he is amazing. Shout out to Dad. We love you so much. And he's, again, such an incredible person to have in around the garages and the pits with his knowledge and his calm, natural self.
But it's amazing how many really, really great people we get to race with. And Alex touched on earlier, when you're not racing and you're finding out about these people's lives and the interesting lives they've led, it is a great melting pot of different people. Anyone who thinks it's just elite or just a rich playground or something like that, they're so far off the mark. It really isn't. You have got everyone from every different sort of background in there together with one shared passion, and that's racing, and it's great. It's fun.
It's a great leveler, like you said earlier.
It is.
And also, you just can't judge a book by its cover. Everyone's personally sacrificed something in order to make it happen. I certainly know I've sacrificed a lot. I'm not a homeowner, and that's okay. I will be, but that's a sacrifice that I made. That was a decision that I made in my early 20s. Well, what did I want my life to look like? I wanted it to look fun. And filled with adventure and doing cool stuff, because I know that we've got a short amount of time here, or it can be short. So I think that's the message that I'd like to send out to everyone as well is, it's just such a privilege that we get to do what we get to do. And it does make you really respect the machine, respect your fellow competitors, and respect everyone out there. And that's such a key message is just treat it with respect and treat everyone else with respect and be in it together. And when we work together, it's super incredible that at the end of a Sunday, you can gather around one of the cars or in the garage at Group S tents, have a drink, whatever that is, and just enjoy that moment with your mates. It's like another little universe, and it's very welcoming. It really is.
And it is fun. It is fun.
Look at us. We've been smiling this whole time.
Well, I mean,
if you look at it from a time point of view, if you actually added up the time we're actually physically on the track racing, it's actually a relatively small amount of time.
There's a lot of waiting as well.
There's a lot of waiting around.
But the laugh,
hurry up and wait.
But the laughs we have off the track, and it's the dinners. When you go away for a weekend, it's the dinners you have at night. It's the drinks. It's the breakfast. It's all the shit that goes wrong.
It's all those times. What will Tommy forget today?
Oh,
Mad
gentlemen,
chaos.
I really appreciate your time so much. Thank you for coming on to Dom Pod. It really was such an honor for me to share this special moment with you both. And I hope that maybe you'll come back again in the future. We'll bring some other people on to share their experiences.
Or
and
remember my cowboy hat next time.
yeah, bring it. Yeah, shout out Arturo Mezzario, Italian car racer. I just love it. And again, classic sports car racing, you can be who you want to be, and it's all cool. Come as you are, come with the right attitude.
Broadchurch.
And wishing everyone lots of revs and horsepower. And Alex Webster, Tom Walstab, Group S Racing Association, thank you both so much, and all the best for the rest of your racing for the year.
Pleasure, Dom. Good
Thanks,
luck.
Dom. Appreciate it.